listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses. The episode for Friday, oh my god, Friday what, 8?
August
April,
something.
August
1,
2,
5th?
3, 4, 5, yeah. In the episode for Friday, August 5th, 2022. But the problem is, we don't really have anything to talk about because we're taking the week off.
We're actually time traveling from the past.
That's true. That's true. In fact, we just finished talking about Comic-Con. That's how ahead of things we are. So, you know, a little continuity.
Or behind things? I don't know.
I don't, honestly. So yeah, we're taking the week off. I'm traveling right now, and didn't want to trust hotel internet. So we figured, why not have a better sort of like a summer break and just kind of take the week off. But we'll be back next week. Mm-hmm. And so until then, keep it real, everybody. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add to the conversation?
No, I think we're good.
Own. Jesus.
No, I mean, you couldn't, right? I don't even know why I'm here.
So we should go then.
Just to tell people that we're not here.
Indeed. So until next week, dear listeners, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
Kinda, sorta. We couldn't leave you hanging like that. So we decided just to add in some old outtakes and fun conversations from Podcast Past just to kind of fill the gap here and hopefully give you some entertainment. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Rusty. In this little pre-show clip from 2016, Andrew and I think about some of the physiology behind the Transformers. Life lives on.
In this arm? You're welcome.
Do what doesn't live on? David Bowie or Alan Rickman.
Oh, that's true. Way to bring it down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Matrix died with.
I don't know which one had the Matrix, but
oh man,
probably David Bowie.
Okay, yeah. Which one's Hot Rod and which one's Ultra Magnus?
Well, neither of them, right? Right? They died.
Right. Okay. Wait. So one of them's Optimus and one is, I guess, Nova Prime.
Megatron? No.
Galvatron technically had the Matrix for a little while, albeit as a pendant.
As a necklace.
Yeah.
I just like the idea that he's like, I don't even know what to do with this. I didn't know you motherfuckers had chest slots, right? Like, is every Autobot just like, oh, by the way, we engineered a chest slot in case you need to take the Matrix.
You can see like Ultra Magnus open his up, and like Galvatron just turns to fucking Scourge and goes like, Do
we all have one of those? Is that a thing I'm missing?
Seriously.
You find out like Starscream's got one. Right.
Galvatron's like, I'm pushing all the buttons. Nothing's happening.
He's got a slot. It just doesn't do anything.
It just has a comfy chair. In theory. What do you think? So if he's a jet, Starscream that is, obviously he's a robot in disguise as a jet. Right. So maybe technically not a jet, but if they replicate every aspect of the machines they transform into, like, could he like eject the seat? Could he do that on accident? Like if Starscream sneezed too hard, could the canopy just come bursting
popping open and a little chair comes out? Well, I don't think he'd be sneezing, right? Because he's a robot.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Well, he's not a robot by our definitions, right? That's this weird alien. It's an alien first and foremost. Maybe there's some sort of biomechanical kind of bullshit. Maybe he has an allergy. I don't know.
Whatever, nerd. Let's get this shit done.
In another clip from 2016, we think about the lineage of rhythm games and how they actually all stem from the glory of Parappa the Rapper. So should they bring back Parappa? I mean, I guess they kind of brought back Unjammer with Guitar Hero and Rock Band.
Well, I mean, they re-released Parappa 2 on the PS4.
Well, that's not technically bringing it back, though. I mean,
yeah, the problem is that it was potentially ahead of its time, right?
Oh, potentially. I think it completely was. Like, that was what Guitar Hero became. Like,
Right.
let's be honest. Just much more, despite being super silly, much more serious in its approach.
I mean, my experience was that the first Parappa I thought was really good. I thought Jammer was fun. Parappa 2 I actually think was just not as good because I think in an effort to expand the gameplay, there's something about the stilted, you only really have one thing to do. Because they get to the point where you end up freestyling a lot and you kind of lose the rap aspect of it.
Sure.
Maybe like there's a way to do it where you could still capture the essence of the rap. Mm-hmm. But like what ends up happening is you get these games where you're beating the game with the rap being like like, no man, you're not saying the words. The point is you're supposed to say the words.
Interesting. So I wonder if actually the more appropriate analog between the rise of, or the peak of rhythm games in the early 2000s and Parappa is actually not Guitar Hero or something like that, or Rock Band, but actually like DJ Hero. We're actually going that kind of stuff, right?
Well, I mean, it's actually interesting that Guitar Hero and its progeny, like, we're very much, no, you push the buttons when it tells you, or you're wrong.
Right.
Like, it's interesting that's actually Parappa. The idea was that you'd eventually push the buttons at the wrong times and be right.
Right.
Except that it sounds like shit. So maybe there's something about pushing the, like, but then we were used to funky controls and shit. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised, though. I guess it is such a weird premise and style that they didn't, at the height of the rhythm game, that they didn't try to bring back Parappa. Though it is so weird, though. It is so weird. I don't know. It just seemed like an obvious move, the return of Parappa to become the king of the rhythm game. Mm-hmm. But you couldn't sell a plastic instrument with it, so fuck that noise. I don't know how you do that game now. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be tough.
Whenever you need a rapping cartoon dog, I guess we have Parappa 2 on PS4 to play.
In this short clip from 2018, Andrew gives us his very specific thoughts about baking.
I do not like it because baking is witchcraft.
That's accurate, actually. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and even they say like, "Oh, I overproofed, underbaked," and you're like,
"You let it sit in a drawer for too long?"
Right? Like, whoa.
How does that break a bread? Fuck you.
No, it's and that's my thing with baking. I don't bake.
In yet another clip from 2016 done pre-show, I decided to give my apparently controversial thoughts about Ghostbusters 2, while also looking forward to, at the time, the as-of-yet unreleased Ghostbusters reboot.
I watched Ghostbusters 2 again recently. That movie is still terrible.
No. Mm-hmm. No, you're wrong.
Nope, you're wrong.
It's not terrible.
It's mostly not good.
No.
Yes.
No, you're wrong.
There are some good parts, but mostly it is not good.
No. Well, I guess to me, to say that means that I would argue that the first one is also not very good.
That's crazy, and you're dumb for saying
right. Like, I actually think that they're not that far off from each other, with the exception of one of them is better. The first one very much is, but the second one is not bad. It's just that people like, oh, was it going to be the mind blowing crazy pants awesome movie?
I'm offended that you would lump me in with those people.
No, man, it's
a pandering mess. There's a series of sequels that I just viewed as being like I just said, pandering, bullshit, very self-aware, that I felt there was no sort of veracity to it. There was no truth in this art. T2 is one of them. Back to the Future 3 is another. Ghostbusters 2 is the third.
I like all those movies.
And looking at, I was reading up on some of the trivia. There were a lot of concessions made to Ghostbusters 2 because of the success of the real Ghostbusters. Like, oh, a lot of kids are going to be watching this. We need to pull back. We need to make sure Bill Murray doesn't make as many entendres as he does. And stuff like that. Not saying that the entendres made the first movie. I would never say that. But
Well, and I guess for me,
being consciously aware of the social impact they've made rather than just making the best movie they could make. And that's rude of me to say. I'll acknowledge, like, obviously they're trying to make the best movie they can make.
Well,
but
I mean, my thought is, I think maybe, I guess, okay, so don't hate me.
okay,
Maybe my perspective has changed because I have less respect for the first Ghostbusters based on the fact that when you learn the backstory of, like, you know,
how serious it was
Aykroyd's-
supposed to be. Yeah,
Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi's crazy head shit show.
right.
And then you find out more about it, and you find out, like, how, like, you know, stuff was just changed arbitrarily, especially, like, the story of Ernie Hudson and
Sure,
like, whatever
sure.
he was. But, like, to me, like, I like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But I acknowledge, like, you know, especially when I find out that, like, oh, did you know that Winston Zeddemore was supposed to be, like, a fucking Air Force pilot?
Right.
That,
right.
like, wasn't just the fucking random black guy? Because that's what he is, right?
right.
And so, like, to me, like, the second one is not that far off. And I get, and it's fine. We can just disagree on that. Because I think it has a
Because you're
solid.
a fucking apologist.
No, I think it's a solid string of fun times. I'm much more interested in the new one now.
Yeah, there was a trailer for the new one. It was the first trailer. Although there were actually changes from the original one that was
really?
released online. Yeah, but that original trailer didn't piss me off as much. If anything, what made me sad about that original trailer, which I guess we could have talked about, but like the jokes weren't super good. They're fine, but I still want to see it because it looks like a fun movie. But considering it seems to be in the vein of the style of comedy of recent comedies that I'm not particularly fond of, like the Anchormans and whatever, right? And it's just like,
Or the Bridesmaids? Yeah.
Bridesmaids is good. I mean, there were some over the top sort of like groan jokes. It's like, do we really need 5 minutes of a woman shitting into a sink? No, but a lot of the movie was pretty funny.
And in this clip from 2020, Andrew's secret desires are revealed.
Oh, it's that Andrew really wants to live on Cheers,
Yeah, that's
where
true.
everybody knows his name.
He wants the corner seat. Yeah,
Fuck you both.
he wants to work for the post office.
If only.
Oh, he just cast me as Cliff.
And that's it for this week. Again, we'll see you next week. Sorry for the lack of an episode, but we hope this behind-the-scenes look at recording our show brought some joy to your day. So until next week, for all intents and purposes, that was a podcast.